I am Renan, a big brother and a devoted fur dad to my cat, Mary Kit. But in that blindingly white hospital bed, I was just a problem to be solved. The doctors and my siblings were suffocating me, constantly invoking protocol and treating my body like a machine in need of repair. I was exhausted by the sterile smell, the persistent ache, and most of all by being powerless. I had to get out. I remember shouting, my voice too loud, but they wouldn't listen. I needed my own bed, my own space, and I desperately needed Mary Kit, the grumpy orange shadow who ruled our house. She was the only stable thing left in my life. I threw the blankets off and walked out, letting the shock register on their faces. Good, they're my siblings. I knew they'd forgive their stubborn big brother later. I got home, finally sinking into my own familiar sheets. And then everything went silent and flat. No more struggle, no more ache, just an absolute, unnerving quiet. I fell asleep. It became a confrontation. I thought they were punishing me with silence, determined to drive me away. Fine, I muttered, the word thin and useless in the air. I stood near Rena as she scrolled through her phone. You want to ignore me? We can play this game. I started small. I wedged Rocco's phone charger beneath his pillow. He simply lifted the pillow, frowned in mild confusion, and pulled the cord free. No reaction. I focused on Rena's coffee cup, inches from the coaster. I used my hand to gently shift it a millimeter. She finally looked up, her gaze skipping right through me, moved the cup back onto the coaster, and fixed her quiet world. My final attempt, Rena's car keys. I grabbed them and dropped them into the change jar. Clink. When Rena came looking, she and Rocco discussed it like a mundane inconvenience, an object that had simply misplaced itself. That utter indifference broke me. A silent, frustrated scream tore out of my lungs, and I spun away, retreating into the hallway. But as I stood in the shadowed hall, I heard Rena's muffled sobs. The fury instantly drained away, leaving a hollow ache. I saw Rena completely collapse. She sat on the sofa, scrolling, but her shoulders started shaking, and the phone fell onto the carpet. She was sobbing, a quiet, wrenching, silent collapse. My kuya heart, my older brother's heart, softened into something useless and fragile. I sank onto the floor beside the couch. I am sorry, I whispered. I am sorry for shouting at you. I'm not mad, I just want to go home. The moment I confessed my surrender, Rena burst into noisy, unrestrained tears. Rocco rushed in, wrapping his arms tight around his sister. They held each other for a long moment, swaying slightly. Then, leaning heavily on each other, they walked out of the room together. I was left in the center of the living room, completely baffled by their raw, sudden exit. I needed Mary Kit. I found her in the dining room, curled up in a familiar, pathetic gray heap on my old sweater. I moved quickly toward her, reaching out to pet her soft fur. As my hand neared, the air immediately around her felt impossibly cold, a sudden dense pocket of absolute zero that made my skin prickle. My hand went straight through her body. The shock was physical, but the disturbance was auditory. I heard a low, steady purr, a deep, resonant vibration. I leaned closer as the texture of the sound changed, slowing, deepening, and articulating into something impossible. It wasn't a purr. It was a voice. Mary Kit spoke, her voice thick and raw, perfectly clear. She was clutching the sweater, rubbing her face into the wool. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry you're alone. I want to stay with you. My hand, still held out where her side should have been, met nothing but that dead, freezing vacuum. I registered the absolute, horrifying truth. I could not touch any living thing. The cat wasn't ignoring me. She couldn't see me. The cold was the boundary. Suddenly, her ears pricked, directed right at the space I occupied. She let out a frantic, high-pitched meow. A sound that instantly pulled Rena and Rocco to the dining room. Mary Kit lowered her body, her amber eyes wide, and began walking slowly toward me. She was looking through me, but her focus was absolute. She reached out with one paw, claws retracted, as if testing the air to find me. I stumbled back, horrified by this proof that I was being felt but not seen. My siblings stared, baffled by the cat's strange, directed anxiety. And then I heard the voice again. It wasn't the frantic meow they heard. It was a sound deep inside my ears, the familiar, thick purr that was suddenly articulated and agonizingly clear. "Boss, is that you?" Mary Kit whispered, her face still pressed into the empty space. "Where are you?" The whisper, the Arctic cold, the sheer solid evidence of my hand passing through her, it was a sensory overload that drove me back. I fled the house, bursting out the front door and into the indifferent afternoon light, running toward the source of my last memory, the hospital. I slipped through the automatic doors and into the lobby. Then I saw them, other figures. Silent, faded, listless forms hovering in the gloom. They were translucent blurs leaning against walls, or sitting motionless in empty wheelchairs, their faces fixed in a vague, weary expression. They were the color of forgotten things. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. I wasn't being punished. I wasn't being ignored. The cold, the inability to touch, the cat's heartbroken whisper, it all converged into one absolute, undeniable truth. I was dead. The logical finality was overwhelming. I rushed away, phasing into a vacant, sterile room and crumpled beneath a cold, steel hospital bed, collapsing into the final crushing realization of my permanent absence. I lost track of time. Then, one of the many nights, beneath the bed, a single point of warmth pierced the Arctic cold of my new reality. A soft, tiny weight brushed against my cheek. I lifted my head. Crouched beside the bed, looking straight into my eyes, was Mary Kit. Her fur was ruffled and matted with tears, and the clear human voice spoke without moving a muscle in her face. "Come on," she whispered. "Let's go home." We returned to the quiet silence of the house. Rena and Rocco were in the living room, standing near the mantelpiece. On it sat a black and white photograph of me smiling, and next to it a polished, marbled urn. They weren't discussing logistics. They were discussing the last, lingering doubt of a family left behind. "I don't know if I can move him yet," Rena murmured, her eyes tracing the photograph. "I just keep thinking, I hope he didn't left mad at us for not granting his wishes." Rocco squeezed her shoulder. "Kuya wouldn't want us to wait. He hated sad goodbyes. We'll be fine. He won't be mad at us for long. And besides, he is never alone." It was the full, crushing, and liberating truth. The silence hadn't been anger. It had been their profound pain. The fear, the sadness, the guilt, it was all motivated by a deep, overwhelming love. The dam of denial and rage burst completely. I collapsed, shaking and finally free, sobbing in pure, useless relief. Mary Kit sat in front of me, her tail curled neatly around her paws. She looked up, and I saw something ancient and weary in her amber eyes. "It's time now," she said. My heart, which wasn't there, still filled with sudden fear. Time for what? I tried to ask, but no sound came. Mary Kit closed her eyes. The final sound I heard was her steady, loving voice, soft and deep as a perpetual purr. "Don't worry," she said. "I will walk beside you." The Arctic cold that had defined my death was instantly replaced by a wave of warmth, the warmth of her spirit, the warmth of home, and the warmth of a final, true farewell. Then everything went quiet. For more stories about our loyal pets, click this button.